Hello and welcome to Arnie's Short Stories. I hope you enjoy this story. I'm going to try and upload a new story each day. The Haunted Mansion. Holly Arnold stood at the threshold of Ashmore Manor, a sprawling Victorian mansion perched on a cliff overlooking the Isle of Wight's restless sea. Its grey stone walls were draped in ivy, and the windows, though framed with ornate carvings, stared back like hollow eyes. The setting sun painted the manor in crimson hues, casting long shadows that seemed to reach out like skeletal fingers. "This is it," her father, Daniel, exclaimed, dropping a box on the porch. Her younger brother, Ben, clutched her hand tightly, his wide eyes darting to every creak and whisper of the wind. Their mother, Claire, was already fussing with her keys, eager to step inside their new home. The Arnolds had inherited the mansion from a distant relative, a stroke of fortune for the family after months of financial struggles. But as Holly gazed up at the towering structure, a chill ran down her spine. Something about Ashmore Manor felt wrong. The secrets within. Inside, the air was heavy with age. Dust motes danced in the dim light filtering through stained glass windows. The grand staircase spiraled upward, its banister carved with twisting vines and grotesque faces. Portraits of stern-looking men and women lined the walls, their eyes seeming to follow the family's every move. "Look at this place," Daniel said, spinning in the foyer. "It's like something out of a movie, a horror movie." Despite the house's eerie atmosphere, the family settled in. Holly took her room on the second floor, where a massive four-poster bed dominated the space. The wardrobe smelled faintly of lavender, and an antique doll sat propped on a shelf, its painted face cracked with age. She turned the doll to face the wall. By nightfall, the house came alive with noises. The groan of settling wood, the whisper of wind through the cracks, and the occasional, unmistakable sound of footsteps in the halls. Holly dismissed it as her imagination until the first night. The lady in the mirror. Holly woke to a faint tapping. She sat up, heart racing, and scanned her room. The doll was back on the shelf, facing her. Then she saw it. The mirror above the vanity shimmered faintly, as if fogged by breath. Slowly, a figure began to take shape, a woman in a tattered gown, her face pale and gaunt, her eyes burning with sorrow. Holly froze. The woman's lips moved, but no sound came. Then the glass cracked, sending Holly scrambling for the door. She bolted down the hall, finding her parents already in the foyer. "Did you hear that?" Claire asked, her voice trembling. "Footsteps," Daniel said. They turned toward the staircase, but the sound stopped. Silence enveloped the house once more, uncovering the past. The next day, Holly couldn't shake the image of the ghostly woman. She ventured into the manor's library, a cavernous room filled with dusty tomes and shattered corners. There, she unearthed the journal belonging to Eliza Ashmore, the original owner of the manor. Eliza wrote of a tragic life, a controlling husband, a stillborn child, and a descent into madness. The final entry was smudged with ink but readable. "He locked me away. The house will remember. I will remember." Holly's hand shook as she closed the journal. Could Eliza's spirits still linger here, trapped by the pain of her past? The spirits awaken. That night the haunting intensified. Doors slammed on their own, and the air grew colder with every passing hour. Ben woke screaming, claiming a man had stood at the foot of his bed, glaring at him with hollow eyes. Holly began hearing whispers, faint, sorrowful voices that seemed to emanate from the walls. She tried to reason with herself, but when she spotted a shadowy figure crossing the hall in the dead of night, she knew they were not alone. Determined to get answers, Holly descended into the basement, following a draft that smelled of mildew and decay. The stone steps led her to a bricked-up doorway. With a crowbar she'd found in the shed, she pried it open, revealing a small chamber. Inside was a rusted iron cage and a skeletal figure curled in the corner. Her breath caught as she realized the truth. Eliza Ashmore had been imprisoned here. Confronting the spirits. Holly returned to her family, her discovery weighing heavy on her chest. "But we have to do something. Eliza's spirit isn't the only one here. There are others." Her parents exchanged uneasy glances, but couldn't deny the evidence of the haunting. That night, They lit candles and placed Eliza's journal in the center of the living room. "Whoever you are," Holly called out, her voice steady despite her fear, "we're here to help." The temperature dropped. The flames flickered. Then the ghostly woman appeared, her face twisted in anguish. She pointed toward the library. Holly led her family there, pulling book after book from the shelves until one dislodged a hidden compartment. Inside was a deed of proof that the manor had been taken from Eliza's family unlawfully. The final goodbye. With the evidence in hand, the Arnolds reached out to local authorities and historians. The story of Eliza Ashmore's wrongful imprisonment and her family's stolen legacy spread across the Isle of Wight. A proper burial was arranged for her remains, and the mansion's dark secrets were finally brought to light. On the night of the funeral, Holly stood by the cliffs, watching the moonlight dance on the waves. She felt a presence beside her and turned to see Eliza, her face no longer twisted in sorrow but serene. "I thank you." The house grew quiet after that, but Holly knew it would never be just a home. Ashmore Manor would always remember its past, and so would she. A lingering shadow. Months passed, and life at Ashmore Manor settled into an uneasy calm. The creaks and whispers ceased, and the air no longer carried that oppressive weight. The family began to decorate and refurbish, breathing new life into the mansion. Yet, despite the peace, Holly couldn't shake the feeling that someone remained. One rainy evening, while organizing the attic, Holly discovered an old photograph tucked inside a cracked frame. It was a family portrait of the Ashmores, including a young boy whose face had been scratched out. Beneath the image, the caption read, "Eliza, Henry, and Edward 1896. Edward. The name struck her like a cold wind. Eliza's journal had never mentioned a son, only her stillborn daughter. Who was Edward, and why had his presence been erased from the family's history? The forgotten child. Curiosity gnawed at Holly. She returned to the library, digging through old records and letters stored in the manor's many nooks and crannies. Finally, she uncovered a weathered letter addressed to Eliza from her sister. "Dearest Eliza, I cannot believe Henry would do such a thing, to send Edward away. What cruelty! I pray you will one day reunite with your sweet boy, though I fear Henry's wrath if he learns of our correspondence." Holly's heart sank. Edward had been sent away, likely to a workhouse or worse, to erase his existence from the family lineage. But why? And could his spirit, too, be lingering here, seeking acknowledgement? Nightmares return. That night, Holly dreamed of the attic. She saw a young boy crouched in the corner, his face pale, his eyes hollow with despair. He whispered her name, not Holly, but Mother. She awoke in a cold sweat, her breath catching as the sound of small, hurried footsteps echoed above her. Grabbing a flashlight, she climbed the attic stairs, her fear mounting with each creak of the old wood. The attic was silent, save for the patter of rain against the roof. But as she scanned the room, her beam landed on a small figure standing by the window, a boy in tattered clothes, his face obscured by shadows. Holly whispered. The boy turned, his gaze piercing. "Why did you leave me?" he asked. "I'm not her," Holly said. "I'm not your mother." The boy's expression softened, and he pointed toward a trunk in the corner. Holly approached cautiously, opening it to find a collection of toys, books, and a small, embroidered blanket bearing Edward's name. Finding rest. Holly brought the items downstairs, determined to uncover the truth. She scoured records of orphanages and workhouses on the Isle of Wight, eventually discovering that Edward had died of illness shortly after being abandoned. The family arranged for a proper grave to be made for Edward beside Eliza's. On the day of the ceremony, Holly felt a warmth unlike anything she had experienced in the house before. As they laid the blanket over the small casket, she saw Edward's spirit standing by Eliza's. The two figures embraced before fading into the sunlight. A new chapter. With Eliza and Edward at peace, the Arnolds felt a true sense of belonging at Ashmore Manor. The once ominous mansion seemed brighter, almost welcoming. Holly, however, carried the memories of the spirits with her, a reminder of the power of history and the importance of compassion. On quiet evenings, when the sea breeze whispered through the open windows, Holly would sometimes hear faint laughter or the soft strains of a lullaby. She didn't mind. They weren't alone anymore, but this time the presence was one of love and gratitude. And so Ashmore Manor stood tall on the cliffs, no longer a house of horrors, but a home filled with stories, memories, and peace. Yet Holly knew that if the walls could speak, they would always have more tales to tell. The end. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this story. Please don't forget to like, and even better, like and subscribe. Thank you very much, and I hope you have had or have a great day.